Hello everyone and welcome to my quick look at 7.3, the latest patch for World of Tanks. First thing immediately we can see is that we have a new patch that comes onto your tanks, your clan patch. If you're in a clan and they've purchased the, I think it's 500 gold per image, and it suddenly appears on your tank now. So it's a nice little clan badge, a nice little add-on. So let's go ahead and cover the main things that happened in the patch 7.3 Soviet Russia Heavy Tank Reorganization patch. First things first, the KV has now been split into the KV1 and the KV2. The KV1 I have not set up yet, but judging based on its weapons, the 57mm or the 85mm are definitely a solid choice for this tank. Either one are highly recommended depending if you want a fast-firing sniper or if you want a slightly slower but still pretty decent heavy penetrating, heavy damage gun compared to the rest for its tier. So it depends on your role. Do you want to be up close or do you want to be at range? 57 for the range, 85 for the close up. So from there, we're going to move to the KV2. KV2 is affectionately the derp cannon. It was originally just the KV2 turret on top of the KV chassis, and that is what gave us our lovely 152 here. In addition, it has the 107. So again, this is going to depend on your playstyle. Do you want to use the also lovely derp cannon, or do you want to use the sniper rifle that the 107 is, which can penetrate most things that this tank will get placed up against? It is now a tier 6 tank, so that is something to keep in mind. It is no longer a tier 5. So it will have slightly different matchmaking, and that 107 or 152 are a much needed upgrade over the 122, where it probably will have a difficult time competing. Next brings us to the T-150. That is the new tier 6 tank of the Soviets. It features the 107, the 85 that I'd never researched because that is a higher level 85, the 57mm, and the 122 as opposed to the 152. Personally on this tank, either the 57, the 85, or the 107 are a great recommendation, but if you have this tank unlocked and it is a tier 6, I'd definitely go for the 107. It's going to be much needed against the tanks you're going to get placed up against. It sits right in the KV3 line, and so, as you can see from the tree, the T-150 sits right above the KV3 and right below the KV1. It is in addition a side skirt away from the KV2, and the way to get to the IS now is you have to go through the KV1S as opposed to the KV and choosing which way you want to go. So your main split's going to be at the KV1. Do you want to go through the IS line or do you want to go through the KV line? That'll be your decision, as the KVs are definitely a little bit different of a tank than the IS. Moving down the line, the KV3 has now been bumped up to a tier 7 tank. It features nothing really different in terms of things that we would notice. It did get a significant boost to its hit points at 1300 as opposed to the 870 that it was at. It now has the 122mm D25T cannon, which was now a tier 9 gun, and features real high penetration, real high damage. That gun also carries into your later tanks, so it is highly recommended that you get it and use it. Next up, the IS-8. The IS-8 is right below the IS-7. It is what will get you to the top tanks on the IS series and not the KV series. The IS-8 features the same stuff that you'll see on the IS-7, but now it has the M62T2 gun as opposed to the S30. So that is your new tier 10 gun, and it features a really high penetration rate, really high damage, and decent rate of fire. At 4.72, you're firing slightly faster than the S30 was, but the penetration at 268 is not bad, and the damage at 440 is not bad either. The tank itself features some pretty decent hit points, the slight armor on the hull, and the heavy armor on the turret. The low armor on the hull is actually amplified with the inclusion of the different sloping aspect of the whole thing here, similar to the IS-3 and IS-4 was before the patch. So, just because you have a weak armor in the front doesn't mean that the shots aren't going to glance right off because of the way the tank is positioned. Finally, we move to the IS-4. It is now a tier 10 tank, and it is in the KV line of tanks. It features a 122mm M62T2 Tier 10 gun that is shared across all of the Tier 10s in the Soviet line, as well as some of the Tier 9s. It features a giant boost in hit points, up to 2,400 hit points now, with its armor being in the hull 140 and 250 on the turret. So it's similar to how it used to be in terms of armor. You need to make sure that things are going to glance off you, so you want to be at the right angles and make sure that they're hitting you anywhere but the side plating here. That is going to be your weak spots as before. This tank, now that it's a Tier 10, will be seen a lot in the end game, as a lot of people had the IS-4 from before. Let's go take a look at the new maps while we're at it. The first of the two new maps is Dragon's Ridge. It is the first map to be featured in an Asian location and features really nice architecture with all destructible buildings and new places to hide and hunt. This map also features very tiered combat areas where you're going to be fighting guys up above you, below you, and all around, hiding in the bushes and sides. So make sure that you check your areas where you're fighting and make sure that you do your best to stay hidden. The second of the new maps is South Coast. It is a Crimea-based map in southern Russia where it features a beachfront property, a city in the middle, and then the mountains in the background. There are multiple ways to go and travel through this map, and then there's also a city with which your main battle is going to take part in. South Coast Town is a massive maze of buildings and structures where there's destructible pieces of terrain as well as very nice hiding spots. You can easily get ambushed if you're not careful, and tanks will be able to come up to you and do a lot of damage if you're not paying attention. With the addition of new maps, the addition of several new tanks, and the split of the trees, this patch 7.3 certainly is an awesome patch, and I cannot wait to start using the IS-4 in later games. I will report back to you with my findings when I start playing the tanks here. I need to definitely play the KV-3, the IS-8, so I can get these tanks in here, and I might pick up a few others here and there. Other things in the patch worthy of notes, just minor fixes and reworks to visual models and damaged models for some tanks, and just minor bug fixes. Otherwise, the major things here were definitely the tank upgrades in the maps. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for tuning into this quick look. Check out my regular series. That's a weekly Let's Play that I put out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Rating and subscriptions much appreciated. I'll catch you guys later.